What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Future Knight Eric here. It has been some time, I think around 3 months since my last upload, but I'm coming at you with a very, very special video today. Yesterday we held the South African Nationals here in Gauteng. It was an insane day. We had 100 players, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but for South Africa that is a huge turnout. So it ended up being 7 rounds with the top 8. And I ended up actually coming third out of the entire event. So just missing out on that first place. But it is my first tier 2 top ever. And what an event to top a nationals of all things. I also came first off the Swiss, going completely undefeated, but having one draw. So just overall an absolutely insane day. Before we get into the deck profile, just some of my matchups. Round 1, I actually went up against last Nats champion, Hurbert, and he was actually piloting the same deck that he played then, which was Swordsoul. I took that game 2-1. Round 2 was against Synchro Adventure, very strange deck, but I ended up taking that 2-0. Round 3 was against Branded, a matchup that I'm very, very familiar with, thanks to some testing with some friends, which I'll get into a little bit later. Round 4 was actually the mirror against one of my teammates. And that ends up coming down to the resolution of a single card, which I'll explain when we get to the deck profile. Round 5 was Kash 2-0. Kash is technically supposed to be a buy for this deck, and that match it definitely was, but he did brick going first, so took that 2-0. The round after that was Kash against Rian, who actually also ended up in top 8. That was my draw. Very back and forth, but he ended up in game 2 judgmenting me. He had game, but we went into time and I had more life. And then the finals was against Pearly, against someone I'm not too familiar with, and I ended up taking that 2-0 as well. So overall, pretty insane for Swiss. In Top Cut, top 8, I versed Trap Tricks, the only other trap deck in Top Cut. The rest of Top Cut was all Kash. It's also worth noting that during this event, the Banlist dropped, so it was kind of crazy. But yeah, we were the only 2 trap decks, and we actually ended up getting paired against each other. I took that 2-0 after some very disgusting misplays, just because of how tired I was. And then I lost in top 4 to who eventually ended up winning the entire event, Pranesh. So congrats to him. He did a really good job. That is the tournament report. Just a quick one, just to give you an idea of what I went up against. Obviously, Kash being the most represented. And then one last thing before we get into the profile, I need to give a huge, huge shout out to my new team, but pretty much my testing circle, which is team-based cooking, Team BC. Just shout outs to Rozier, who was also playing Labrynth, as well as Ronan for the mirror matches, Byron for the branded matchup, which let me absolutely cook the branded game that I had in Swiss, to Tristan on Swordsoul, and to Rian, who was also unbranded. The rest of the team did, really, really well. A lot of them going 5-2, just missing out on that top cut, with only one 5-2 getting into top cut. But yeah, a huge shout out to them, and I think you're going to see a couple of big things from us, I hope, in the South African scene. We're pretty confident in how we play, and our testing. Without the testing, I don't think I would have topped. Never. I don't think it would have been possible. So huge, huge thanks to them. And then, yeah, without further ado, I think we can get into the deck profile. Alright, so obviously we played Labrynth. This is the deck that's been on my channel pretty much for the longest time. And the engine that I was playing was pretty standard. So it was 3 Lady, 1 Lovely, 2 Ariana, and 1 Clock. Only have 1 Starlight Lady, which is perfectly fine because it's the only one I ever saw in my hand. And then 2 Ariana, just because of how the format's shaped up to be very hand trap heavy. With this previous format, we've got a new format upcoming, but I didn't want to play into hand traps, especially Gamma, getting rid of the body, which makes big resolution a little bit not difficult, but it doesn't give you as much advantage as you'd like. Clock was absolutely insane the whole day. I opened it so much, but every time I opened it, I won. So it really didn't matter. I'm actually thinking about moving into the next format, playing at least 2 of this. There was some theory crafting I did with Rozier about potentially playing 3 clock, literally the exact same engine, 3 clock, just because of how versatile it is. The card is insane. Being able to resolve welcomes in your turn 1 and set up ladies that are just untargetable and set up traps that you want specifically for your matchup, it's disgusting. The reason why I didn't play the furniture build for this is because of the Kashtira representation. I didn't want to be discarding furnitures and getting them banished to gain very little advantage against their board that they establish. Also, I just don't like it. It is a more combo-centric trap build, essentially, and I don't know, I like the more trap-heavy side. But for me, it just feels weak. It feels like the deck's doing the same thing over and over. But obviously, there is someone who's cracked the code because it has been doing well alongside the trap version, which is, I guess, arguably what I'm playing. But yeah, maybe because Kashtira has been hit a little bit now, the furniture will become a bit more popular, and maybe I'll try it. But for now, the trap version is definitely the version I prefer. And that is it for the Labrynth monsters. For the other monsters, we did play hand traps. I also expected quite a bit of branded, and although I played 1, there wasn't that many, but this is also good into rogue. We played the 3 ash, and then because of Pearly, Kashtira, super heavy, I played 3 Gamma Seal. This card was insane all day, awesome card. And then for the best card in my deck, a card I almost played at 2, then went to bed, woke up, and made my deck 42 cards by adding the 3rd one, is Wannabe. This card is absolutely cooked. But what's crazy is knowing that there was a lot of Kashtira, this card is terrible into Kashtira. You can't even resolve it in the end phase because it gets banished, so you can't actually activate it. Against everything else, it's insane. Being able to set strikes, being able to set bigs, being able to set anything it's insane. Also, the level 2 light synergy comes with our extract. We're obviously playing Chaos Angel. And yeah, the card's absolutely insane. And my head law is that it's Tour Guide cosplaying as a bee. Probably not true, but that's my head law, and Tour Guide's my favorite card. So we had to play it. And I think it's definitely going to stay in the deck now that Kashtira has been hit. And also, this sort of diminishes the fact that we need to play furniture, because it does the same thing as furniture, but without as much cost and better. And it's got like weird synchro synergy with the Chaos Angel. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the monsters. Now onto the spells. I only played 3 Prosperity. I didn't play the field spell. I just felt like the field spell was very win more, and drawing it was just dead. It could have been any other card and would have been better. So the only time it's really good is if you open Welcomes and Arion and you can search it. Then it becomes insane because it's non-targeting pops. But other than that, it just felt like win more. Yeah, that's it for the spells. Then onto the traps. I mean, quick one. We're obviously playing 3 big, 3 welcome. Something I did notice in this event was that the big welcome to return your own monsters was way more impactful than I'd ever thought. But yeah, this is standard. You can never cut this. Not even welcome. You have to play the engines. Then a card I almost cut and that my teammate Rozier did cut was Compulse. This card, every time I resolved it, I won. Whether I was bouncing my own stuff to trigger ladies to then get a new normal, sort of like what Big does, whether I was bouncing normal summons, bouncing fusions from the branded, no matter what, the card, it was insane. And I think into the new format, it stays definitely at 2, maybe goes to 3 again. I know it's technically a Labrynth card because it's just free. It's got no cost, target, bounce. But we played it for 2 just to keep the list lower, then try to get as close to 40 as possible. We ended on 42, so not much to say there. Then probably the best trap card in my deck, Punishment. Even into Kashtira, if you get rid of the Arise, this card just FDKs them. 1 D barrier. I was missing the second one because every time I resolved it I won, but I think now moving to a more branded heavy, pearly heavy format, you should definitely play 2. 1 Karma Cannon for the pearly matchup, for the super heavy samurai, just for anything that's untargetable really. And then a card I didn't see the entire day or set off lady the entire day was Terrors. It just never really came up for me. I think you have to play just remove like floodgates and field spells and big problematic things, but didn't really come up. I think that is all. The only other normal trap I played was 3 Imperm. Also an insane card. And this was pretty much my normal trap lineup. Insane. I don't think I'd change anything. The only thing I'd want is maybe more Karma Cannons, more D-barriers. But obviously we don't want to go higher than 42. Then for the non-normal trap cards, and this is where it gets absolutely insane. So I have to give a huge shout outs to the man behind the camera, Ronan, because he put me onto this, and this is the best card in my deck. I played 3 strike. This card won me so many duels. The amount of times I got ashed on my welcomes and I just striked and I could just see the joy leave my opponent's face was phenomenal. This card is cracked. And with wannabe, it's even better. You just set it and now all your stuff resolves. The card is nuts. I don't think I would have done even half as well as I did without this card in my deck. So I have to give a huge shout out to Ronan, who was cooking me with this the night before in playtesting. So yeah, absolutely insane card. And then the last 4 cards, which 2 of them I am going to cut, which I almost cut the day before, but it won me my round 1, and only my round 1, was 2 skill drain and 2 goes in. So the one that I want to cut is skill drain. I did see it a few times in the tournament, but the only time I actually flipped it face up was in round 1 against Swordsoul. It did win me that match, to be fair, but also I had Gozen on the board as well. I had both. So, and they both do probably just the same amount of impact against that matchup. Gozen was insane the whole day. Love this card. Maybe even think about playing 3. But Skill Drain, I've never really liked because you turn the game state into monkey, where you're just battling with your ladies. And against something like Branded, yes, it hinders them, but they have huge monsters that can get over your bodies. You can crash a Mirror Jade, use Mirror Jade effect in end phase, and then even if you summon another lady, it gets killed. So, not a big fan of Skill Drain. Like I said, it did win me that first match against the previous Nats winner, so it has to be good, but I'm just not a fan of it. And as much as I play to win, I also play to have fun, and I think Skill Drain takes the fun out of it. But of course it did contribute to my win, so you know the list, it had to be a part of the list. The list is perfect. I don't think I change a single card for this format, for this event, but I think there are going to be a few changes for the next format, especially with regards to Branded. I'm a bit afraid of that deck. It's also a terrible matchup for us, so maybe D-barrier up to 2, maybe even 3. We'll do side deck first because it's probably the most important. The extra deck doesn't actually matter. A card that I didn't summon once and every time I saw it was terrible was Lava Golem. This card is terrible. I don't have much to say. I never summoned it, so not good. Because of the Super Heavy Samurai threat, we played 3 Droll. Never came in. And when it did, I didn't see it, but I also never faced Super Heavy Samurai. I think there was 2 in the room. A card that is absolutely insane is Super Poly. This cooks the mirror. It cooks Branded. It destroys Trap Trick. Swordsoul. It's so good. This card is insane. Going first, going second. This is staying in the deck no matter what. This card is nuts. We played the 1 Harpies. I did see it against the Labrynth Mirror. Obviously, that's literally a game. 3 Anti-Spell against the first Kachtera player I played, where I 2-0'd him. Game 1, he went first, drew terribly. I ended up just winning that. And then game 2, I flipped Anti-Spell and he had 3 Lightning Storms in hand. And then for the final 2 cards, because I was fearful of Branded, extra barrier, and then the card that won me my Labrynth matchup, Eradicator. You resolve this against Eradicator, you just win. Which also reminds me in the match against Ruan, the draw. I activated this, calling spells. He had just thrust to add Harpies, and he had to Judgment this, because if he hadn't, then obviously I ripped the Harpies, and I think he had Meteonis, and he had the field spell in hand as well for Kachtera. So he had to Judgment it, which is what put us into the draw. This probably going to 2 in the side, and the second D-barrier in the main for the next format. But this was perfect for this event. And then the final bits, the quick bits. There's not much to say here. The Chaos Angel, I never summoned it, not even once, but in theory it's insane. This for the Flunder matchup because I don't like that matchup. And then we went extra hard on the the branded hate, ladies and gentlemen. We played the Dusk Dragon and the Masquerade. This card is insane. Against the branded player, I super polyed him, made this. He then super polyed me using this. I then reborned this, and then in his turn, he had Branded Fusion in hand, and I eradicated, virused him, tributing the reborn Masquerade. Shout outs to Byron for telling me to play this instead of the other Despia. Yeah, these cards they had to be in there. Mud Dragon, Super Poly, Garuras, Super Poly, but also for the Link 5, 2 Entus. This, I think, will all stay exactly the same into the next format. This will probably also stay the same. 2 Muckraker, the only card I summoned all day. This Reviving Lovely is disgusting. Finally, my brothers, we can cut 1 Linger Hebo, but we had to play 2 for this event. And the Kash players actually were on Ibli. And then because of Droll sometimes just being a dead card, and it came up in testing a lot, we played 1 Relinquished Anima. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for the list. I didn't get my trophy, my top 4 plaque, I suppose, but I should be getting it soon. Definitely going to have a place on my showcase, And yeah, the event was absolutely crazy. This is my first tier 2 top ever, and it was a Nat. And getting so close to the end was absolutely awesome. But I'm not sad even in the slightest. I'm so happy that I could just get to top 4. Also, my box was cracked that I opened, and of course we got this very ugly mat. But because it says that we will play this mat until the end of time. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, shout outs to my team, shout outs to the testing, shout outs to everyone who could make the event, and to Ronan behind the camera. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Future Night signing out.